The moment Sarah placed her hand on her belly and smiled at the judge, I realized my wife wasn't just a cheater. She was a sociopath. She walked into that courtroom like she'd already won. 6 months pregnant, glowing. Her cream-colored maternity dress probably cost more than my attorney's retainer. She touched her stomach the way women do in commercials. Protective, maternal, perfect. Judge Morrison looked at her with that immediate sympathy judges aren't supposed to show, but always do when they see a pregnant woman. Sarah's attorney stood. Your Honor, given my client's delicate condition, I smiled. I couldn't help it, because I had the paternity results in my briefcase, and they were about to destroy everything she'd built on that belly and that smile. But let me back up, because the question everyone asks when they hear this story is always the same. How do you prove betrayal to a system designed to protect mothers when the mother is willing to weaponize an innocent child? The answer: you become someone you never thought you'd be. You document everything, you trust nothing, and you learn that the person you loved enough to marry might never have existed at all. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Judge Morrison sat behind cherrywood that had seen decades of families torn apart. The court reporter's fingers hovered over her machine, waiting for someone to say something worth recording. Sarah's mother sat in the gallery, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that looked too clean to have absorbed any actual tears. Sarah settled into her chair beside her attorney, a man named Richard Pace, who specialized in high-conflict divorces. He wore a suit that cost more than my car payment. I watched him lean over, whisper something to Sarah. She nodded, touched her belly again. My attorney, Jennifer Chen, set her briefcase on our table with a deliberate thud. "How are you holding up?" she whispered. "I'm fine." "You're smiling." "Am I?" "Don't," Jennifer said. "Not yet. We need her to feel confident." Across the aisle, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it. The screen lit up her face. That face I used to kiss goodnight, that face that had whispered, "I love you always," 1,000 times. She looked at the preview notification, and her expression flickered. Just for a second. I saw it. My attorney's name, on a text message, to Sarah's phone. And that's when I knew. The conspiracy was bigger than I thought. 8 months earlier, I found the receipt on a Tuesday. Tuesdays were trash day. Sarah always forgot to empty her coat pockets before throwing things in the hamper, so I'd gotten in the habit of checking. Chapstick, grocery lists, the small debris of a shared life. This Tuesday, I found a receipt from the Riverside Inn, room 347, February 14th, Valentine's Day, our anniversary. 9 years since I'd asked her to marry me in a restaurant neither of us could afford anymore. The charge was for champagne. The expensive kind, $340 for one bottle. I stood in our laundry room holding that receipt. The paper was thermal, the kind that fades if you wait too long. But this one was fresh. The numbers were crisp, dark. Room 347. I ran my thumb across the print. It didn't smudge. The coat was still warm. She'd been there recently, hours ago maybe, while I was at work, teaching 8th graders about the Civil War and thinking about what flowers to buy her for Valentine's dinner. I called Marcus, my best friend since college. The guy who'd been my best man. The guy who'd warned me that Sarah seemed off the past few months, and I'd told him he was imagining things. "Mark," I said when he picked up, "I need you to tell me I'm crazy. What happened?" I read him the receipt. Date, time, room number, dollar amount. Marcus was quiet for a long time, then, "Where is she now?" "She said she had a late meeting downtown." "On Valentine's Day?" "She brought me flowers this morning," I said, "the ones from the grocery store that come in plastic wrap. She said she was sorry she had to work late, but she'd make it up to me." "Brother," Marcus said, "you're not crazy." I hung up, stood there holding that receipt. The dryer was running. Sarah's blouse tumbled behind the glass door, around and around. pink fabric and white lace. I put the receipt in my wallet. I didn't confront her, not yet, because some part of me, the stupid, hopeful part, wanted it to be a mistake, wanted there to be an explanation, wanted to believe that the woman I'd built a life with wasn't capable of this. The receipt was still warm, and I was already cold. She came home at 9:30 that night. I was sitting in the living room with the TV on, but the sound off. Playing a game on my phone I wasn't actually playing, just moving pieces around a screen to look busy. Sarah walked in, carrying takeout from the Thai place we used to go to when we were dating. She set it on the coffee table, kissed the top of my head. "I'm so sorry," she said. "The meeting ran long, but I got your favorite, drunken noodles, extra spicy." "It's okay." "No, it's not. It's Valentine's Day. I'm a terrible wife." She sat next to me on the couch, put her head on my shoulder. I could smell her perfume, the one I'd bought her for Christmas, and underneath it, something else, something that might have been hotel soap. "How was your day?" she asked. "Fine. Quiet." "Did you do anything special?" I almost laughed. Did I do anything special? "I found out my wife is cheating on me. Does that count?" "No," I said, "and nothing special." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, smiled at the screen. "Work stuff?" I asked. "Just Jessica," she said, being ridiculous. Jessica, her friend from college, the one who'd helped her get ready for our wedding, the one who'd told me at the reception that I was lucky to have Sarah, that I should never let her go. I wondered if Jessica knew. I wondered who else knew. How many people had watched me be a fool? Sarah put her phone face down on the couch between us. Always face down now. Always. We ate the noodles. I forced myself to chew, to swallow, to pretend everything was normal. She told me about her day. Meetings, deadlines, the usual complaints about her boss. I nodded in the right places, made sympathetic sounds. At 11, we went to bed. She kissed me goodnight, whispered against my lips, "I love you, always. Always." I turned on the lamp on my nightstand, said I wanted to read for a while. Sarah rolled over, pulled the blanket up to her chin. Within minutes, she was asleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, and I hit record on my phone. The next morning, I called the attorney Jennifer Chen, a woman Marcus had recommended, someone who'd handled his brother's divorce 3 years ago. "What are we talking about?" Jennifer asked. No preamble, no sympathy, just business. "Infidelity, suspected. I have a hotel receipt." "Just one, so far." "Kids?" "2. Emma's 7, Liam's 5. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. I heard her typing. "Do you want to reconcile, or do you want out?" I thought about Sarah's face in the dark, the way she'd said, "always," and meant nothing. "I want out," I said, "but I need to protect my kids." "Then here's what you're going to do," Jennifer said. "You're going to go home. You're going to act normal. And you're going to document everything." "Everything?" "Everything. Receipts, text messages, if you can access them legally, dates, times, locations, who she's with, when she's supposed to be home, and when she actually arrives. If she says she's working late, verify it. If she says she's with a friend, find out which friend." "That sounds like being a detective in your own home," Jennifer finished. "That's exactly what it is, and I know it feels wrong. But here's the reality. Family court is biased toward mothers. If you want equal custody, if you want to protect your assets, if you want any chance of proving that she's not the victim she's going to claim to be, you need evidence, lots of it, undeniable." "How long?" "Minimum? 3 months. 6 is better." 6 months of living a lie. 6 months of pretending I didn't know. 6 months of sleeping next to someone who'd already left me. "Okay," I said. "Good. I'm sending you a retainer agreement. Sign it. Send it back. In the meantime, I need you to promise me 3 things." "What?" Jennifer's voice dropped. got quieter, harder. Don't confront her. Don't tell anyone except people you absolutely trust. And don't, under any circumstances, do anything that could be used against you later. No yelling, no accusations, no dramatic exits. You stay calm, you stay kind, you stay present for your kids. I can do that. Can you? Because the second you lose control, you lose this case. I thought about Emma and Liam, asleep upstairs, trusting that mom and dad would always be there, always be together, always. I can do it, I said. Good, because we're going to win this, but only if you're willing to become someone you've never been before. I hung up, went to the store, bought a black leather notebook, the kind with a ribbon bookmark and thick paper that doesn't bleed when you press hard with a pen. Bought a voice-activated recorder, a Sony ICD PX470, small enough to hide. That night, I started the log. February 16th, day 1. Sarah said she was working late, came home at 10:15 p.m., smelled like wine, said she'd had dinner with clients. I asked which clients. She said, just some people from the Chapman account. I called her office the next day. There is no Chapman account. I wrote it down, date, time, exact words. Document everything Jennifer had said. Trust nothing. Protect yourself. And that's what I did. For 6 months, I became a ghost in my own life. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I kissed her when she expected to be kissed. I played with my kids and tucked them in and read them stories about families that stayed together. And I documented everything. Jennifer Chen had said 6 words that changed everything. Document everything. Trust nothing. Protect yourself. I didn't know yet that the evidence I was collecting would save my life, but I was about to find out. 3 months into the documentation, Emma found out. I didn't tell her. 7-year-olds aren't supposed to carry adult secrets, but kids see everything. They just don't always have the words for what they're seeing. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I'd picked up Emma and Liam from school. Sarah had texted that she'd be running errands until dinner. The kind of errands that lasted 4 hours and required her to turn off her location sharing. Emma was quiet on the drive home. Usually she talked nonstop about her friends, her teacher, the book she was reading, but today she just stared out of the window, her backpack clutched in her lap. Liam fell asleep before we hit the first red light. 5-year-olds could sleep anywhere. Em, I said, you okay, sweetheart? Daddy, where does mommy go? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What do you mean? She says she's working. But Sophia's mom works, and Sophia's mom is always home for dinner, and mommy's never home for dinner anymore. Sometimes adults have different schedules, honey. Is mommy having sleepovers? I almost drove through the red light. What? At Uncle Ryan's house. Uncle Ryan, that's what they've been calling him. Ryan Hayes, the guy Sarah had introduced as a friend from work 6 months ago. The guy who'd come to Liam's birthday party and brought an expensive present. The guy I'd shaken hands with, smiled at, offered a beer. The guy whose name was on 14 different hotel receipts in my black notebook. Why do you think mommy has sleepovers there? I kept my voice level, calm, the way Jennifer had taught me. Because I called her phone last Tuesday when I had a bad dream, and a man answered. He said mommy was sleeping and she'd call me back in the morning. The light turned green. I drove, breathed, counted to 10. Did mommy call you back? Yes, she said I must have dreamed it, but I didn't dream it, Daddy. I know I didn't. I pulled into our driveway, put the car in park, turned to look at my daughter, this small person who was too smart for her own good and too young to understand what she was seeing. Em, I need you to do something for me. Okay. I need you to trust that Daddy is handling grown-up things, and that no matter what happens, you and Liam are the most important people in the world to me. Can you trust that? She nodded, but her eyes were too old, too knowing. That night, after I tucked them in, I went to Emma's room to grab her laundry, and I found it on her desk, a drawing, crayon on construction paper, 3 figures, mommy, a man, tall, broad-shouldered, labeled Ryan in Emma's careful handwriting, and a small circle next to them with the word baby and a question mark. Ryan was standing where I should have been, and Emma had pressed so hard on his figure that I could feel the grooves on the back of the paper. She'd drawn him in blue, her favorite color. I wasn't in the picture at all, just white space where a father should have been. I sat on the edge of Emma's bed. She was asleep, her nightlight casting shadows that looked like monsters on the wall. I held that drawing and felt something crack open inside me. This wasn't just about Sarah and me anymore. This was about two kids who were watching their family dissolve and didn't have the words to ask why. The next morning, Emma came downstairs for breakfast. She saw me looking at the drawing. I'd left it on the kitchen counter while I made pancakes. She stopped in the doorway. "Are you mad?" "No, baby, I'm not mad." "I didn't mean to, Emma." I knelt down, met her at eye level. "Come here." She walked over slowly, like she thought she was in trouble. I pulled her into a hug. "Did we do something wrong?" she whispered against my shoulder. "Is that why Mommy doesn't come home?" And there it was. The question that had been building for months. The question every child of divorce asks eventually, and every parent has to answer even though there's no good answer. I held her tighter, felt her small body shaking, felt my own heart breaking into pieces I didn't know how to put back together. "No, sweetheart," I said. "No, adults just break sometimes. And it's not because of anything you did. It's not because of anything Liam did. You two are perfect. You hear me? Perfect." She nodded against my chest. But I knew she didn't believe me. How could she? When the evidence of her mother's absence was everywhere. When the man in her drawing wasn't her father. When the baby in that circle was going to change everything. If you've ever found something that broke your heart and then had to smile through breakfast for your kids, I see you. Drop "I understand" in the comments, because you're not alone in this. Sarah told me about the pregnancy 3 weeks after Emma drew that picture, April the 12th. I remembered because it was the day before our anniversary. 10 years since I'd asked her to marry me. A decade of building a life that was already over, I just hadn't signed the papers yet. She'd made dinner, actual home-cooked dinner, chicken parmesan, garlic bread, the works. She'd even set the table with the nice plates we got as wedding gifts and never used. Red flag number 1, Sarah didn't cook anymore. Red flag number 2, she'd sent the kids to her mother's for the night. Red flag number 3, she was crying before I even sat down. "I need to tell you something," she said. I waited. I'd gotten good at waiting, good at letting silence do the work. "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between us. The chicken was getting cold. The candle she'd lit flickered. "How far along?" I asked. 8 weeks. "When did you find out?" "Yesterday. I took a test. Then I went to the doctor to confirm. I have an ultrasound picture if you want to see it." She pulled a small photo from her purse, black and white, grainy, a blob that was supposed to be a baby. Our baby, except I pulled out my phone, opened my calendar app, the one I'd been using to track everything, every time we'd been intimate, every time Sarah had come home late, every lie. January 12th. That was the last time we'd had sex. I'd marked it because that was the night she'd initiated, rare these days, and then cried afterward and wouldn't tell me why. I counted forward January 12th to April 12th. 91 days. The ultrasound was dated April 10th. 8 weeks along would put conception around February 13th, 32 days after we'd last touched each other. I looked up at Sarah. She was watching me with wide eyes, waiting for me to react, waiting for me to be happy, to pull her into my arms and tell her everything was going to be okay. "The math doesn't work," I said. "What?" I turned my phone around, showed her the calendar. January 12th circled in red, April 10th marked with ultrasound. "We haven't slept together since January 12th. That's 91 days ago. You're 8 weeks pregnant. That's 56 days. The baby was conceived on or around February 13th. I watched her face change, watched her try to recalculate, watched her realize that I'd been keeping track. Maybe I'm further along than they thought, she said. Sometimes the dates are off. Are you saying you're 13 weeks pregnant? No, I don't know. Medicine isn't exact. Maybe February 14th, I said. Valentine's Day, the Riverside Inn, room 347, $340 for champagne. The color drained from her face. Were you with Ryan that night? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. She stood up, knocked her chair over. The crash echoed through the kitchen. You've been tracking me like I'm some kind of criminal? I've been protecting myself. There's a difference. I can't believe you. I come to you with news that we're having a baby, and you accuse me of... Is it mine? The question stopped her mid-sentence. Is the baby mine, Sarah? Of course it is. How could you even ask that? Because the math says otherwise. Because you've been lying to me for months. Because I know about Ryan. I know about the hotels. I know about all of it. She grabbed her purse, fumbled for her keys. I don't have to listen to this. You're right, you don't, but a judge will. And so will a paternity test. She froze at the door, turned back to me. You wouldn't. Watch me. She left, slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. The glass cracked. Inside the frame was a photo from our wedding day, us kissing on the courthouse steps, young and stupid and in love. I picked up the frame. The crack ran right between us, splitting the image in half. The ultrasound photo was still on the table. I took a picture of it with my phone, noted the date, logged it in my black notebook. April 12th, Sarah claims pregnancy, ultrasound dated April 10th, showing 8-week fetus. Conception date approximately February 13th. Last intimacy with subject January 12th, gap 32 days. Timeline inconsistent with paternity claim. The words looked cold on paper, clinical, like I was investigating a stranger. Maybe I was. 2 weeks later, I got the confession on tape. I'd hidden the Sony recorder in the kitchen, tucked it inside the sugar canister that Sarah never used because she'd switched to artificial sweetener last year. The recorder was voice activated, would only turn on when it picked up sound. I'd tested it. The playback was crystal clear. You could hear everything. The scrape of a chair, the clink of a wine glass, every word. Sarah had Ryan over while I was at work, while Emma and Liam were at school, in our house, in our kitchen, probably at the table where we ate as a family. I listened to the recording that night, alone in my car in the parking lot of the grocery store. I told Sarah I was picking up milk. Really, I was picking up evidence. Sarah's voice came through first. He knows. Ryan, what do you mean he knows? He did the math. He keeps a calendar. Can you believe that? A calendar, like he's tracking an animal. What did you tell him? I told him the dates must be wrong. That medicine isn't exact, but he didn't believe me. Sarah, if he pushes for a paternity test, he won't. He's too afraid of what people will think. Too proud to admit his wife cheated. Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. So, what's the plan? He asked. Same as before. I file for divorce. I keep the house. You and I wait a few months, then we go public. By the time the baby's born, no one will question it. And if he fights for the house? He won't. Not if I play the pregnancy card right. Judges always side with pregnant women. Always. God, you're brilliant. I know. The sound of a kiss, wine glasses clinking together. At least when you get the house, we won't have to hide anymore, Ryan said. I sat in my car, listening to my wife and her boyfriend plot my destruction, listening to them laugh about it, listening to them plan a future in my home with my money while I played the fool. I hit stop, pulled out my phone, called Jennifer. I have it, I said. Have what? Everything. The confession, the plan, all of it. Did you record legally? One-party consent state. I'm a party to conversations in my own home. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then she said something I'll never forget. We don't just have a case anymore. We have a goddamn slam dunk. The legal process moved faster than I expected. Jennifer filed a motion for paternity testing, submitted the timeline evidence, the hotel receipts, the phone records showing 2,847 text messages between Sarah and Ryan in the past 6 months. Sarah's attorney, Richard Pace, filed a counter motion, claimed the paternity test would cause undue stress to the pregnancy, argued that demanding such a test was harassment and emotional abuse. Judge Morrison scheduled a hearing. That's when Jennifer showed me what real lawyering looked like. They're going to play the victim card, she said. Pregnant woman, stressed, vulnerable, worried about her unborn child. And we counter with what? The truth. But strategically, we don't lead with infidelity. We lead with inconsistency. We lead with the timeline. We make the judge ask the questions instead of us making accusations. How? Jennifer smiled. When someone refuses a test that would prove them right, they're already admitting they're wrong. We just have to make sure the judge sees it. She pulled out a timeline poster board, dates marked in red, hotel receipts blown up to poster size, phone records highlighted, Ryan's social media posts, the ones where he talked about big changes coming and starting a family. This isn't a case about infidelity, Jennifer said. This is a case about fraud. She's claiming this baby is yours to secure alimony, child support, and the house. But if the baby isn't yours, then she's committed fraud on the court. And judges don't like being lied to. What if she takes the test and it somehow comes back positive? Then you apologize, pay her attorney fees, and we proceed with a standard divorce. But you and I both know that's not going to happen. She was right. Sarah refused the test, filed motion after motion trying to delay it, claimed privacy concerns, claimed religious objections, claimed everything except the truth. And with every refusal, she looked more guilty. I started going to a support group on Thursday nights, Divorced Dads of Denver, meeting in the basement of a church on Colfax. 12 guys sitting in a circle on folding chairs, drinking terrible coffee from styrofoam cups, talking about custody schedules and child support and how to explain to a 5-year-old why mommy and daddy don't live together anymore. The facilitator was a guy named David, late 50s, gray beard, kind eyes. He'd been running the group for 7 years since his own divorce. At the first meeting, David had everyone bring something. Bring your broken favorite thing, he said. Doesn't matter what it is. Mug, watch, picture frame, just something that mattered to you and broke. I brought my coffee mug, the one Sarah had given me for Father's Day 3 years ago. White ceramic with "World's Best Dad" in blue letters. Emma and Liam's handprints painted on the sides. I dropped it last month. The handle had broken clean off. Everyone set their broken things in the middle of the circle. 12 objects, 12 stories. These don't get fixed tonight, David said. But we're going to talk about them anyway, because sometimes acknowledging what's broken is the first step to healing. We went around the circle. Each guy told his story. Some were bitter, some were sad. Some were angry. All of them were honest. When it got to me, I held up the mug. My daughter asked me if she did something wrong. I said. She asked if that's why her mother doesn't come home, and I didn't know what to tell her, because how do you explain to a 7-year-old that her mother chose someone else? How do you tell her it's not her fault when she watches her mom leave every day? My voice cracked. I hadn't meant for it to. I'd been holding it together for months. Document everything. Trust nothing. Stay calm. Stay present. But sitting in that circle of men who understood, who'd lived through versions of this same nightmare, something broke. I'm drowning, I said, and my kids are watching, and I don't know how to teach them to swim when I can't breathe. David nodded. What do you need right now? I need someone to tell me it gets better. It does, but not yet. Right now, you're in the middle, and the middle is hell. The middle is where you document and you fight and you smile for your kids, even though you're dying inside. The middle is where you learn who you really are. Another guy spoke up. Marcus, not my Marcus, different Marcus. Early 40s, 2 kids, 3 years past his divorce. Your kids don't need perfect, he said. They need present. You're here. You showed up. You chose them over your pride, over your anger, over everything else. That's what matters. I don't feel like it's enough. It is, David said, because you're still showing up. Your ex, she checked out months ago, but you're here, fighting for them. That's everything. I looked down at the broken mug. The handle was gone, but the handprints were still there, small and colorful and permanent. I just want them to be okay, I said. They will be, David said, because they have you, and that's more than a lot of kids get. I stayed after the meeting, helped David fold up the chairs. He noticed me looking at the broken objects still in the circle. They stay here, he said. Everyone leaves them, comes back next week. Eventually you realize you don't need them anymore. When does that happen? When you stop defining yourself by what broke and start defining yourself by what you're building. He handed me my coffee mug. This week, keep it. Somewhere you can see it. Not as a reminder of what you lost. As a reminder that broken things still hold what matters. I drove home that night with the mug in my cup holder. Emma and Liam were asleep when I got there. Sarah's mother was watching them. I kissed them goodnight, whispered that I loved them, that I'd always choose them, always. The word Sarah had turned into a lie. The word I was going to turn into a promise. If you found family in unexpected places, people who chose you when blood let you down, comment, found them below. Tell me who, because those stories matter. And I'll read every single one. The preliminary hearing was set for June 23rd. Jennifer prepped me for 2 hours the day before, sat me in a conference room and asked me every question she could think of, every attack Sarah's attorney might make. He's going to try to make you look controlling, obsessive, like you're the problem. What do I say? You tell the truth. You tell it calmly. You show the judge you're the stable one, that you're not doing this out of anger. You're doing it to protect your kids. What about the recording? We'll play it if we need to, but I want to hold it back. Let them feel confident. Let Sarah think her sympathy play is working. Then we hit them with everything at once. How do you know this is going to work? Jennifer looked at me across the table. Her expression was serious. No jokes, no reassurance, just honesty. Because you did everything right. You documented. You didn't confront. You didn't do anything that could be used against you. And most importantly, you kept your focus on your kids instead of your anger. That matters in family court. Judges can tell the difference between someone who wants revenge and someone who wants justice. What's the difference? Revenge is about hurting them. Justice is about protecting yourself and your children. You've been protecting your kids this whole time. The judge will see that. The next morning, I put on my best suit, the one I'd worn to job interviews and funerals, kissed Emma and Liam goodbye, told them I'd be home for dinner. Jennifer met me outside the courtroom. She had 2 briefcases and the timeline poster board. Ready? She asked. No. Good. Means you care. Let's go. We walked in. Sarah was already there with Richard Pace. She was showing, definitely showing, wearing a maternity dress, soft pink, demure. Her hand rested on her belly. Her mother sat behind her, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Sarah glanced at me. Her expression was almost pitying, like she felt sorry for what she was about to do to me. I sat down next to Jennifer, opened my briefcase. The black notebook was inside. 6 months of documentation. 6 months of evidence. 6 months of becoming someone I never thought I'd be. Judge Morrison entered. We all stood. Be seated, she said. Let's get started. Richard Pace went first. Painted Sarah as the victim. a working mother, a pregnant woman dealing with an unreasonable husband who was demanding invasive medical testing and making wild accusations. "My client has done nothing to deserve this suspicion," he said. "She's carrying what she believes is her husband's child. She's vulnerable, scared, and he's treating her like a criminal." Judge Morrison looked at Jennifer. "Counsel?" Jennifer stood. She didn't go for the emotion. She went for the facts. "Your Honor, my client isn't making accusations. He's asking questions. The timeline is inconsistent. The defendant claims 8 weeks pregnant as of April 10th. That puts conception around February 13th. My client and the defendant last had intimate relations on January 12th. That's a 32-day gap." "Dates can be approximate," Richard started. "Can they be approximate by 32 days? Jennifer interrupted. "Can they be approximate when there are 14 hotel receipts showing the defendant with another man during the exact period of conception? Can they be approximate when my client has a recording of the defendant discussing her plan to use this pregnancy to claim the house?" The courtroom went silent. Richard's face went red. "That recording is inadmissible." "It's a one-party consent state," Jennifer said, "and my client is a party to conversations in his own home. The recording is perfectly admissible." Judge Morrison removed her glasses, looked at Sarah. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to ask you directly. Is there any reason you would oppose a paternity test?" Sarah's hand tightened on her belly. It's stressful for the baby." "A simple cheek swab is stressful." "The whole situation is stressful. My husband is accusing me of—" "Your husband is asking for clarification. Given the timeline discrepancy, that seems reasonable." Sarah looked at Richard. He leaned over, whispered something. "My client respectfully declines to submit to testing at this time," he said. Judge Morrison put her glasses back on, made a note on her legal pad. "I'm ordering the test," she said. "It's non-invasive. It's reasonable given the circumstances. And Mrs. Patterson, I'll be honest, your refusal to take a test that would immediately resolve these questions is concerning." Sarah's attorney dropped his pen. It clattered on the table. And I knew, right then, we'd won. The DNA results came back on July the 2nd. Jennifer called me at work. I was in the middle of teaching a lesson on reconstruction. Ironic, considering I was trying to reconstruct my own life from rubble. "We got them," she said. "And? Can you come to my office? I want to show you in person." I left work early, told the principal it was a family emergency, which was true, just not the kind of emergency anyone wants to have. Jennifer's office was downtown, 14th floor, windows overlooking the city. On her desk was a manila envelope with an official seal from Gene Tech Laboratories. She opened it, slid the document across the desk. I'd seen these forms before, on TV, in movies. But seeing one with your name on it, with your wife's name, with the name of a child that might or might not be yours, that's different. The page was dense with technical language, genetic markers, allele frequencies, probability calculations. But at the bottom, in bold print, was the only sentence that mattered. Probability of paternity, 0.0%. 0.0%. Not unlikely, not probably not. Not even 99% excluded. 0. Absolute, unambiguous, mathematical certainty. "She can't argue with this," Jennifer said. "This isn't interpretation. This is science." I stared at the number, all those months of documentation, all those nights lying awake wondering if I was wrong, if I was crazy, if maybe there was some explanation I was missing. There wasn't. Sarah had looked me in the eye and told me the baby was mine, had cried, had made me feel guilty for doubting her, had called me paranoid and controlling and cruel, and she'd been lying the entire time. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we go back to court. We present this, and we ask the judge to reconsider everything Sarah's claimed, because if she lied about this, what else is she lying about?" The hearing was scheduled for July 15th. Sarah showed up 7 months pregnant. The pink dress was gone. Now she wore black. Her belly was impossible to miss. She moved slowly, one hand pressed to her lower back. The picture of maternal suffering. Her mother wasn't with her this time, neither was Ryan, just Sarah and her attorney sitting alone at their table. Judge Morrison entered. We stood. "We're here for the paternity results," the judge said. "I've reviewed them, but I want them read into the record. Ms. Chen?" Jennifer stood. She held the document like it was a sacred text. Gene Tech Laboratories, test date June 30th. Samples collected from Stephen Patterson and Sarah Patterson. Test results as follows. Jennifer paused. The courtroom was silent. Even the court reporter's fingers were still. Combined paternity index 0. Probability of paternity 0.0%. Conclusion: Stephen Patterson is excluded as the biological father of the child Sarah Patterson is carrying. Exclusion is definitive. The words hung in the air. 0.0%. Sarah's face went white. She grabbed the edge of the table. For a moment, I thought she was going to faint. Her attorney reached for her arm, but she pushed him away. "Mrs. Patterson," Judge Morrison said, "do you need a moment?" "I need a..." Sarah looked around the courtroom like she was searching for an exit. "This can't be right. The test must be wrong." The test was conducted by a court-approved laboratory using standard protocols. The results are definitive. "But we tried to reconcile. In March, maybe..." "Mrs. Patterson." Judge Morrison's voice was sharp. "You told this court under oath that you conceived in February. You submitted medical records confirming an 8-week pregnancy as of April 10th. You cannot now claim the conception date was different." Sarah's attorney stood. "Your Honor, my client is clearly distressed." "Your client lied to this court, and I want to know why." Richard Pace sat down. He had nothing, no argument, no defense, just a client who'd been caught. Judge Morrison looked at Jennifer. "Counsel, I assume you have additional evidence?" "We do, Your Honor. Substantial evidence." "Present it." Jennifer walked to the front of the courtroom, set up the timeline poster board on an easel, dates marked in red, hotel receipts, phone records, a visual map of Sarah's affair. "February 14th, Jennifer said, Valentine's Day. While Mr. Patterson was at work, Mrs. Patterson checked into the Riverside Inn, room 347, with Ryan Hayes. Credit card records show a charge for champagne, $340. She pointed to the date on the timeline. February 15th, another hotel, the Metro. February 22nd, the Riverside again. March the 3rd, 9th, 15th, 22nd, 29th. Jennifer moved down the timeline, date after date, receipt after receipt. 14 separate hotel visits, all with Ryan Hayes, all during the period when Mrs. Patterson claimed she was working late or running errands. She pulled out another document, phone records, pages and pages of highlighted numbers. Between January 1st and June 1st, Mrs. Patterson exchanged 2,847 text messages with Ryan Hayes. The majority of these were sent during work hours, late at night, and early in the morning. Many were deleted from her phone, but phone company records don't delete. Sarah was crying now, real tears. Not the strategic kind she'd cried when she told me about the pregnancy. These were the tears of someone watching their lies collapse. "Your Honor, we also have this." Jennifer held up a lease agreement. Ryan Hayes signed a lease for a 2-bedroom apartment on March 1st. 2 bedrooms. The lease application lists Sarah Patterson as an intended co-resident. This was signed 2 months before the Pattersons officially separated. Judge Morrison leaned forward. "They were planning to move in together before the separation?" "Yes, Your Honor, and there's more." Jennifer pulled out a printed screenshot, social media posts. On March 15th, Ryan Hayes posted on Instagram, "Big changes coming. Can't wait to start this new chapter." On April 3rd, "Best decision I ever made." On May 1st, building something beautiful. These posts coincide exactly with the affair timeline. And finally, Jennifer said, "We have this." She placed a document on the judge's bench, medical records. On February 1st, Sarah Patterson and Ryan Hayes attended a pre-conception counseling appointment at Denver Family Planning Center, together as a couple. This was 9 days before Mrs. Patterson told my client she was pregnant with what she claimed was his child. The courtroom was dead silent. Sarah made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Her attorney put his head in his hands. Judge Morrison picked up the medical records, read them slowly. When she looked up, her expression was colder than I'd ever seen on a judge's face. "Let me make sure I understand," she said. "You planned this pregnancy with your affair partner. You attended pre-conception counseling with him. And then you told your husband the child was his. Is that correct?" Sarah didn't answer. "Mrs. Patterson, you will answer the question." You thought what? That you could use an innocent child to commit fraud? That you could weaponize a pregnancy to secure financial gain? No, because that's what this looks like to me. You planned to leave your husband. You planned to take his house. You planned to collect alimony and child support for a child that isn't his. And you did all of this while your 2 children watched their family fall apart. Sarah was sobbing openly now. Her hands were shaking. She looked at me for the first time since the hearing started. Looking for what? Sympathy? Forgiveness? I looked away. If you think the judge made the right call here, let me know in the comments. If you think she was too lenient, also let me know. I want to hear what you think, because this moment changed everything. Judge Morrison removed her glasses, set them on the bench, leaned forward. "Mrs. Patterson, in 17 years on this bench, I have presided over hundreds of divorce cases. I have seen people at their worst. I have seen greed, anger, spite, but I have never witnessed fraud this calculated, this systematic, this cruel." She picked up a pen, started writing. "Here is my ruling. The petition for divorce is granted. All claims for alimony are denied. The marital home will remain with Mr. Patterson, who has been making all mortgage payments. Mrs. Patterson will receive her portion of the remaining marital assets minus attorney fees incurred by Mr. Patterson as a result of her fraudulent claims." Richard Pace stood. "Your Honor, I'm not finished. Regarding the minor children, Emma and Liam Patterson, primary custody is awarded to Mr. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson will receive supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of a psychological evaluation and parenting classes." Sarah gasped. "You can't take my children." "I'm not taking them. You forfeited them when you chose to destroy their family for your own gain. The child advocate's report is clear. Your children have witnessed ongoing deception. They've been used as pawns. Emma, age 7, has been asking if she did something wrong. Liam, age 5, has been acting out at school. They need stability. They need a parent who puts them first." Judge Morrison looked directly at Sarah. "You are their mother. That doesn't change. But you are not the parent they need right now. Maybe someday you will be, but not today." She signed the order. The sound of her pen scratching across paper was the only sound in the courtroom. "Additionally, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation of possible fraud charges. You lied to this court. You attempted to defraud your husband, and you did so with premeditation and planning. There may be criminal implications." The gavel came down. "This hearing is concluded." I sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes after the hearing. Jennifer had shaken my hand, said, "Congratulations," asked if I was okay. I'd said yes, but I wasn't sure that was true. I'd won everything I'd fought for, the house, the kids, justice. So why did I feel empty? I called David, the support group facilitator. "It's over," I said. "Judge ruled in my favor. Full custody, no alimony. She's being investigated for fraud. How do you feel? I don't know. I thought I'd feel, vindicated, relieved, something, but I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline for months. Now that the fight's over, you're crashing. My kids, I said, how do I tell them? How do I explain that their mother isn't going to be around much anymore? The truth, age-appropriate truth. Emma's 7. She's old enough to understand that adults make mistakes. Liam's 5. He just needs to know you love him and you're not going anywhere. What if I mess this up? You won't. You know why? Because you're asking the question. Bad parents don't ask if they're messing up. They just mess up and blame everyone else. You've been showing up. You've been choosing them. That's what matters. I hung up, drove to Emma's school, picked her up, then Liam's preschool. They climbed into the car, Emma with her backpack, Liam with a painting he'd made, something involving entirely too much glitter. Daddy, why do you look sad? Emma asked. I met her eyes in the rearview mirror. I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just thinking. About Mommy? Yeah, about Mommy. Is she coming home? I pulled over, turned around in my seat so I could look at both of them. We need to talk about some things, grown-up things, but I need you both to know something first. Are you listening? They nodded. You are not the reason Mommy and I aren't together. You didn't do anything wrong. You are perfect, both of you. And I love you more than anything in the world. Nothing will ever change that, okay? Okay, Emma whispered. Mommy made some choices that hurt our family. Adults do that sometimes. We make mistakes, big ones. And when that happens, things have to change. Is Mommy going away? Liam asked. Mommy's going to live somewhere else, and you'll see her sometimes, but you're going to live with me in our house, and we're going to be okay. I promise. Emma's eyes filled with tears. But what if we want to see her more? Then we'll figure that out together. This isn't forever. It's just for now, while Mommy figures some things out. I didn't tell them about the fraud, about the affair, about the baby that wasn't mine. That was information they didn't need. Not now. Maybe not ever. What they needed was to know they were safe, that I wasn't leaving, that no matter what happened with their mother, they had one parent who would always, always choose them. That night, after they were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote them letters. 2 letters, one for Emma, one for Liam, not to give them now, but to give them someday, when they were old enough to have questions, when they needed to understand. Dear Emma, you're 7 now. By the time you read this, you'll be older, maybe a teenager, maybe an adult with kids of your own. I'm writing this because someday you're going to ask me questions I can't answer in person. Questions about your mother, about what happened, about why our family changed. Here's what I want you to know. When people break promises, it doesn't mean you're not worth keeping them. It means they forgot how. Your mother forgot how. And I'm sorry for that. Not because it's my fault, but because you deserved better. You are not a mistake. You are not the reason for anyone's choices. You are a gift. The best thing I ever helped make. Grown-ups break sometimes. We get scared. We get selfish. We hurt people we promise to protect. Your mother did that. And I'm not going to pretend she didn't. But I'm also not going to teach you to hate her, because hate is heavy, and you deserve to be light. What I will teach you is this. You are worth showing up for. You are worth choosing. You are worth the work it takes to be a good parent, and I will never stop choosing you. Love, Dad. Dear Liam, you're 5. You probably won't remember a lot of this. You might not remember the day I sat you down and told you Mommy wasn't coming home. You might not remember the drawing you made, the one with too much glitter that's still on our fridge. But I'll remember. I'll remember all of it. Here's what I need you to know, buddy. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes families change. Sometimes people leave. But not because of you. Never because of you. You asked me once if Mommy still loves you. The answer is yes. She does. People can love you and still hurt you. It doesn't make sense. But it's true. What matters is who shows up, who tucks you in, who makes you pancakes on Saturday morning, who teaches you to tie your shoes and ride a bike and be brave when things are scary. I'm going to show up every single day, even when it's hard, even when I'm tired, even when I don't know what I'm doing, because you're worth it. You've always been worth it. Love, Dad. I read them out loud to no one, just to the empty kitchen. My voice cracked on, "You are worth showing up for." Broke completely on, "I will never stop choosing you." And I sat there at the kitchen table, crying for the first time since Sarah had walked out with that ultrasound picture. Crying for my kids, for the family we'd lost, for the man I had had to become to protect them, but also crying because it was over. The fight was done, and we'd survived. 6 months later, Emma drew a new picture. It was a Saturday morning. She was at the kitchen table with her crayons and construction paper, same as always. Liam was eating cereal and watching cartoons. I was making coffee in the kintsugi mug David had helped me repair. The cracks were filled with gold resin. You could trace them with your finger, the lines where it had broken, now gilded. More beautiful for having been broken. Emma finished her drawing, held it up. "Daddy, look." 3 figures, all smiling, labels in her neat second-grade handwriting. Daddy, Emma, Liam. Just the 3 of us. No empty space. No strangers in the wrong place. Just our family. The family we'd become. That's beautiful, Em. Can we put it on the fridge? Absolutely. She hopped down from the table, used her favorite magnets, the ones shaped like butterflies, positioned the drawing right in the center. Liam looked up from his cereal, walked over to see what his sister had made. He studied it for a moment, then he grabbed a yellow crayon. "What are you adding?" Emma asked. "A sun," Liam said. He drew it carefully in the corner of her drawing, big and bright and yellow. He stepped back, looked at the picture with the satisfaction of a job well done. "Now we have everything," he said. And he was right. We didn't have the family I'd planned for. We didn't have the life I'd imagined when I stood at an altar and promised always to a woman who didn't understand what the word meant. But we had each other. We had Saturday mornings and homework at the kitchen table and bedtime stories. We had Marcus, who came over every Sunday for dinner. We had the support group guys who'd become uncles to my kids. We had Jennifer, who sent Emma a birthday card every year. We had found family, the kind that chooses you, the kind that stays. Sarah saw the kids every other weekend now, supervised visits at a family center. She'd completed her parenting classes, passed her psych evaluation, slowly, carefully, rebuilding trust with Emma and Liam. Ryan was gone. The relationship had imploded under the weight of reality and fraud investigations. The baby, a girl, had been born in October. Sarah was raising her alone. I didn't feel triumphant about that, just sad. Sad that it had come to this, that a child was growing up in the wreckage of her mother's choices. But that wasn't my responsibility. My responsibility was standing in my kitchen, admiring a crayon sun. "You hungry?" I asked them. "Pancakes?" Liam asked hopefully. "Obviously, Saturday means pancakes." "With chocolate chips?" "Is there any other kind?" I got out the mixing bowl, the griddle, the chocolate chips we weren't supposed to eat before breakfast, but always did anyway. Emma sat at the table swinging her legs. "Daddy?" "Yeah, sweetheart? Are you happy?" I looked at her, at Liam, at the drawing on the fridge with its bright yellow sun, at the mug in my hand, broken and repaired, gold in the cracks. "Yeah, Em, I am." She smiled. "Good, because we are too." We made pancakes. We laughed at Liam's attempt to flip one and his subsequent disappointment when it landed on the floor. We ate too many chocolate chips. We were loud and messy and alive. And for the first time in over a year, I didn't count the days until it stopped hurting. I just lived. The motif had changed. always wasn't a lie anymore. It was a promise. We don't leave the people who need us. We don't abandon the ones who chose us back. We show up. We stay. We build something new from the pieces of what broke. Emma's drawing stayed on the fridge. Liam's son in the corner. A reminder that even when things fall apart, you can still create something worth keeping. Broken things can be beautiful if you're willing to fill the cracks with gold. If this story reminded you why truth matters, or if you needed to hear that broken things can heal, share it. Someone in your life needs this today. And if you want to re-watch the courtroom scene, I've put the timestamp in the description. Because sometimes we need to be reminded that justice is real, that documentation matters, that showing up for your kids is everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And to everyone rebuilding after betrayal, you're not alone. You're not crazy, and you're going to be okay. Keep showing up. Keep choosing the people who need you, always.